Hey again, it's Christina from Sunshine and Flora. So I wanted to pop on here real quick today and give you guys an update on a few of the projects that I've been sharing with you recently. While I love to share the projects with you guys, I think it's really important to also give you updates on how those things are doing because, as you know, things don't always go perfectly. Imagine that. And if you recall, a couple weeks ago, I posted a video where we had this huge blizzard and it was like -20 outside. My furnace went out, my pipes froze. It was 18 degrees in the back room and 34 degrees here in the studio, and I was worried about a few things. So that is part of what today's update is too. So today I want to show you how my Lisianthus are doing, how my Dahlia tubers are doing that I started to root, and then also some of my hydroponic tulips. So let's just head over to the grow shelves. All right, so my grow shelves are behind me. I have the lights turned off just so that you can see me actually standing in front of it. But on this particular grow shelf, I have my Lisianthus growing and my Dahlia tubers. And then my hydroponic tulips, I'll swing the camera over when we're talking about those. Those are actually set up on a different area because when the tulips get so tall, I need to be able to lift the lights. And it just doesn't work. There's not enough space on these grow shelves. So, I'm going to show you the tulip bulbs first, and then we'll circle back to this. So this is the tray of tulips that I wanted to show you guys today. If you remember from my frozen pipes video, I had 3 full trays of tulip bulbs in my back room rooting at a cooler temperature, and that is where it got down to 18 degrees. And I'll throw a picture up on the screen, but the trays of tulips with the water were a frozen solid block of ice, and I went ahead and brought them in and put them under the lights just to see what they would do. And a lot of you told me that you thought that they would be just fine, and I wanted to see if they were fine. They are not. This is what I have left. The bulbs just started to rot in the trays, and they looked really good from the top. When you looked at them, you couldn't even tell. But the water just kept getting gross. I changed it every other day. They were rotting from the bottom where the roots fell out. In fact, the bottoms of the bulbs just fell off when I took them out of the water. It was the worst smell that I have ever smelled. These are the bulbs that I thought might be okay, so I moved them to a different tray, but they're growing at such a slow rate, I'm assuming that they're just rotting from the bottom like the rest of them. So there's my update on the frozen bulbs. The rest of my tulips, a lot of them are harvested and in the fridge cooling. They're looking amazing. I have some of them out in a vase right now, blooming, and they're going to be awesome for Valentine's Day. But sad to say, the ones that were in frozen water are goners. Okay, so back in front of the grow shelves, I want to give you an update on my Lisianthus. Everything else is pretty much positive updates. The tulips that I wasn't sure about, yeah, bummer with that, but it couldn't have been avoided. My furnace is doing good now, so hopefully it lasts through the whole winter. But the Lisianthus I want to show you, I have 2 different start dates for the Lisianthus. So the first Lisianthus that I started, and I'll put the date up on the screen because, of course, when I'm standing here, I don't remember exactly. I started 3 of these yellow meat trays of Lisianthus, 3 different varieties. And 2 of the trays are looking really good. One of the trays is not looking good, but if you remember right, I accidentally dropped it. So here's the tray that's looking bad. There are a few Lisianthus in there, but definitely not looking as good as the other 2 trays. Here's a picture of one of the other trays that's doing good. And here's a picture of the 3rd tray that is doing really good. Now, some of these Lisianthus are actually getting quite sizable. So I think what I'll probably do is monitor these for another week, 2 at the most, and then I will probably go ahead and pot them up into a seed tray. I'll probably just get a normal 72 cell tray and fill it with seed starting mix and pot these up because I have seen other flower farmers do that, and then that really makes them grow at a faster rate. They get a little bit bigger than if I would just keep them in these soil blocks, I think. So with these, I'm going to try that. And then depending on how my other soil blocks go, which I'll show you in a minute, I may end up doing that too. But these specifically are for the hoop house. So I'd like to get those going a little bigger because my hope is to plant those out maybe the first part of March, depending on the weather. So yeah, these are looking really good and really promising. So the second Lisianthus that I started, I'll put that start date up on the screen as well. It was a little bit after the first ones, and they're starting to fill in pretty good. I'll throw some individual pictures up on the screen of each tray. And I know it's really hard to see because Lisianthus are so small, but there are a lot of Lisianthus growing. Some are getting bigger than others. With this particular tray, this is not Lisianthus. I don't know what it is. I'm going to let it grow and see if I can figure it out, but not Lisianthus, but growing very well. I actually just watered these, and I'm noticing this corner looks a little dry, so I need to put a little more water on there. But these three trays in particular were from Jake, the wholesale for the small scale grower group. And he ran that sale where you could get a whole box of different seed packets for $40. I bet I got 50 packets. It was an amazing deal. And so that is where all of these Lisianthus came from for these three trays. And they were all pelleted. I don't have the best germination rate on a bunch of the varieties, and so I'm assuming they were last year's seed. When you order pelleted seeds, it is recommended that you use them in the year that you buy them because you'll have the highest germination rate. Pelleted seeds tend to go down with their germination rate faster than just a plain seed. So like this particular soil block, there are no Lisianthus in it. This one, there's no Lisianthus, and this one, there's no Lisianthus. And so I'm wondering if those were just old seeds, and a couple other of my trays are that way as well. But the ones that are coming up are doing really good. So I'm just going to continue monitoring these, and this should be a really nice stock for the garden. Now, some of these will go in the hoop house, some of these will go outdoors, and these were in the studio when the heat went out. However, it was 34 degrees in here. These were still on the heat mat at that point, so I think that's what saved these. So anyway, very thankful to have these. All right, so the third update that I want to give you guys is the dahlia tubers. Now, these were also in the studio when it got really, really cold, and a few of them did end up just kind of crumbling, so I threw a few away, but most of them are doing okay, and a lot of you guys thought that they would be okay. Most of them were okay. I would say I had to throw away, I think, 4, and then I just went back into my boxes and got some new ones to replace, and so I still have the same amount of containers that I started with. But I'll put some close-up pictures up on the screen. Some of them are now starting to show growth, which I am really excited about. They seemed a little bit slower than normal this year. I have maybe 5 of them showing growth, which is really exciting. I still have the heat mat on, and I'm keeping the grow lights on 16 hours a day. So I think once they'll get going, you know, they'll get going pretty good. This is one of them that I'm starting to see really good growth on, and this is a variety called Bracken Palomino. Now, I remember last year when I started this project, it was a slow start, and I watered them, but I don't think I gave them as much moisture as they needed because I was really afraid that the tubers were going to rot. Because, you know, when you plant your tubers outside, they say don't water them until you see growth above the ground. But I am finding out that when you start some this way, they need to be kept more moist. So I think now this year the problem was I just wasn't giving them enough moisture. I've been making sure that they're staying really moist now for probably the last 5 days. And these little eyes have really started to shoot growth. And so I think I'm really going to start seeing these grow. Now, I do still have the heat mat on, so that's giving them warmth. And then the lights I have on a timer, so they're getting light 16 hours a day. So I think once I start, you know, seeing growth on all of them, it's going to go pretty fast. And I will be doing another video on these once the growth gets to a certain point where I can actually take that cutting and then, you know, root them, I will do a video on that, but I think it probably will be at least another week or two before I can do that. So anyway, that is it for today's update video. I just really wanted to share the progress on these projects with you guys. One fail, 2 successes. Actually, that one really wasn't a fail. Just those 3 trays were a fail. My other tulips, as you saw in the pictures, are looking really good. So anyway, it's really fun to have these projects going in the winter when we can't do anything outside. So I'm just really looking forward to spring. I'm sure you guys are too. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. I hope you guys are having a great weekend and stay tuned for a lot more throughout this growing season. We'll see you soon.